All right, tonight I'm going to show you how to make an HHO fuel cell the cheapest, fastest, easiest way. I've already got it all wired up. I did this last night because the glue needed some time to dry. I'm just going to show you this here, this contraption I made. The hose I selected, I got this at a hardware store. I selected this hose for one reason, because it fits in my air intake. So that's the hose I got. It was like $1.20 a foot at a hardware store. The wire I had left over from a previous project, I think this is 14 gauge, and the switches I'll be using, this one is a 20 amp, this one's a 15 amp. I think I'm using a 20 amp. I think that's what I got in the car. But these act as a fuse. See, this one popped. This one don't click no more. They don't last forever, but I get a long time out of them, or something shorts out and the switch goes before your wiring goes. So these are what I use. I don't even use a fuse. I just use these switches. They light up. They let you know if you forgot it on or not. And I have everything all wired. I have my switch in place. Let's see down here. It switches on. You can clearly see that it's on, so you don't forget it on. Because I do not recommend hooking it up through your ignition, because you don't want to short out your ignition. You'd rather burn up some wires or short out a switch than fry your ignition. And this is what you're going to need to do. You're going to need your lid to be waterproof. I got this container at Walmart. There's the barcode if you want to look it up. 786-348-520-577. This is at Walmart. This is pretty cheap. Shh. And the lid, see, it pulls the bottom up to seal it. So I had to drill this hole a little bit bigger than the hose, and this hole a little bit bigger than the wires, so they can kind of slide. And I have them sealed on the bottom because it seals. You want it in an airtight, watertight container. And I stripped off about 1.5 feet of copper wire. And I just used RC car connector here. And I also have one underneath my hood, just to make connecting, disconnecting, removing it easy. And plus, with this Dean's connector, the terminals are inside, so I don't got to worry about it shorting out on anything. Pretty simple to do, just a switch. And I'm going to mount it here. I got zip ties temporarily. I think I'm going to figure out a better way to do it, but you want to mount it away from heat. Do not mount it here because that gets hot. I'm going to mount it away from heat. And there's a nice little container that allows me to change water. And this is what you're going to need. I've seen a lot of, and that glue I used, if you're wondering. It's this Gorilla Clear Grip. That's the glue I used. You're going to need distilled water. That was cheap right at Walmart. And Walmart also had this, pure baking soda. Don't use regular baking soda, get pure baking soda. It'll last longer. Now, some people say that these are acidic. They're not acidic. What they are is it's corrosive because of the salt, because of the sodium bicarbonate. So what this device is going to do, get my pot scrubbers out, what this device is going to do is it's going to break down the water's H2O. It's going to break the water down into separate molecules. The positive being the cathode, the negative being the anode. And the cathode is going to make hydrogen, and the anode is going to make oxygen. And it's a very flammable gas, HHO. And when it burns in your combustion chamber, it turns back into water. And you do save on gas. Because it gives you a noticeable horsepower boost. and you end up pushing the gas pedal a lot less. Well, I've made these in the past, and they work out amazing. These are extremely cheap pot scrubbers, right at Walmart. And unfortunately, these are magnetic. The ones I've gotten in the past were non-magnetic. You just stretch them out. I'm going to stretch out 3 of them. Going to try to kind of intertangle them a little. And this is going to be the one that goes inside of the sock. Yeah, you guys are going to want to use a new clean sock. This one's kind of fluffy. It's my Lonely sock. I had a pair, but make sure there's no holes in it. You can use an older sock. This one hasn't been kicking around in the garage out here. But you can use an older sock. I recommend using a new one or one that's nice and fluffy, because this is going to be your insulator. This is going to keep positive from touching negative. And what I do is kind of intertangle the negative in here. So that's how it got dirty. Let me kind of weave it through here a little. You just want it to get good contact. And I'm going to bend this around so it can't pull back out. Good enough. Now this one's going to go inside of the sock. Yeah, this is about as simple as you get. I've seen these really big, elaborate, where people are using all kinds of washers and stainless steel spatulas and stainless steel plates and these complicated, elaborate fuel cells, when pot scrubbers in a sock work just fine. Alright. So I got 3 inside. Now here's a little tricky part. These ones are going to go on the outside of the sock. And just make sure that they're touching, making contact. Now for the cathode. Just kind of weave it through. Intertangle it in there so it's making good electrical contact. And I'm going to use a zip tie to secure it. Doesn't get any easier than this. So now positive, negative goes inside the sock, positive goes on the outside. And let me just stuff it inside. I probably could have used 4 inside and 4 on the outside. That fits kind of tight. Kind of arrange it in here, because you do want air gap on the top. There we go. This is going to work out just fine. Now my last one I made was with a mason jar with a plastic lid. Whatever you guys use for a container, you want to make sure it's something that has a failure point. This is going to be plastic. If something's going to blow up, there's not going to be shrapnel. There's nothing I'm going to get flat tires with. And now, yeah, you want to be safe, because this is extremely flammable. I'm just going to use this for mixing. There's no real measurement. Electricity flows through salt water a lot faster. Makes the water more conductive. So I'm just going to use this for mixing. And as this bubbles, it'll mix. I'm going to add a little more. As it bubbles, it'll mix itself up a little more. That's going to be enough. There's no real science to it. Just distilled water, baking soda, pot scrubbers, and a sock. Doesn't get any simpler than this. And that's about good. Let me see if I can get this squished down in there a little more. Tastes a little salty. Oh, there, I got enough. Now yeah, that's gonna be good. So now, I'm gonna hook it up here for right now. And I'm gonna go switch it on. Now, of course, when the car's running, and she's on, nothing blew up. Of course, when the car's running, yeah, see, look, it starts making it almost instantly. See it bubbling? She's bubbling pretty good. This looks like it's my best one yet. And my wire's getting a little warm. Well, yeah, she's working good. We're good. So now I'm going to mix up some soapy water. This'll do. I just want to capture some of those HHO bubbles that are coming out of that. Oh, she's making it good. That's working good. Yeah, who's got a fork in her garage? The soap's just going to make it so I can capture the bubbles. Oh, I'm getting good production on this one. Wires aren't getting too hot. Oh, look at that bubbling. Now you do not want to ignite the gas coming out of this hose, because it will... I got too much liquid in there. I gotta dump some of this liquid out. You're probably gonna run into the same issue. I'm just going to dump it out right here. Right on the old shop floor. Wow, that's making really good production. I gotta figure out what I did. I can't light that on fire. I think maybe there's too much salt in the water. That's what I'm thinking. Can't light that on fire. I cannot believe how good that's working. Let me get something to light that on fire with. Wow, that was loud. Yeah, so not too bad. Not too bad for just some pot scrubbers. I still got too much in there. I can't believe how much it's making. Whew, that was loud. My ears are ringing. Alright, I gotta tune this a little bit, fine tune it. I got too much salt in there. Too much sodium bicarbonate, so I'm gonna tune it a little bit, see if I can weaken it up, because I don't want it making that much while I'm driving. Alright, now I used twice the sodium bicarbonate I probably should have. Turn it back on. Use half what I used. I used probably 2 teaspoons. Use probably a teaspoon. We're still getting good production. My wire's not getting so hot. Ooh. And as you see, it's extremely flammable. There must be a gap of just regular air in there. And you do not want to light that end. See, as it becomes more pure, because there's regular oxygen and a regular atmosphere in here, it'll get more flammable. And see, it's almost like a rolling boil. I got pretty good production here. We just got to get all the air out of the system. Oh, starting to get flammable. Make sure my lid doesn't want to pop off again. Got a little bit too much water in there. Oh, there we go. I'm going to lower this down and get some of my water out. So I left a few inches of space. I guess it's just producing that much. I left it was down to like here when I turned it on. And the water rose right up. But that's getting pretty good production. For what it is, for stainless steel pot scrubbers and a sock. Then I get a little cluster of bubbles. Ooh, that's loud. Yeah, this works really good. Cheap, fast, easy way to make a HHO fuel cell. So now I'm just gonna switch it off. I'll find some way to mount it. I'm gonna tie this into my air intake, and I'll see how the car runs on it. Okay, now I got it all mounted nice and securely. I just used zip ties, and I zip tied it to my overflow jug for my radiator. And something I failed to mention, you definitely do not want the gases in here getting ignited. And there's a lot of sparks and a lot of static, and you know, I don't know if my valves are closing properly and opening properly, and you know, I don't want sparks igniting that gas and having it getting back in here. So what I like to do is I like to do a couple of loops. And you get a little bit of water trapped in your hose, that's just going to happen. And it'll end up like a toilet bowl trap. And if this ignites, it's only going to get to that water and then stop. So do a couple of loops, make your hose longer on purpose, do a few loops. And this is a little added security. This is brass mesh that came out of a magnetron on a microwave oven. And what this is going to do, this is going to let the gas get through, but hopefully stop the flame. So this will be just a little added security here. I'm just going to put that inside of the hose. Get something here to stab her on in with. That should be good. Hopefully it works. A little added security there. And you just hook it into your air intake. So now the air mixture is going to be more flammable. So it's, you know, you're not going to have to push the gas pedal as often or as much. More horsepower. Better fuel savings. And you definitely don't want to leave it on if the car's not running, because it'll fill this chamber here full of the gas, full of HHO gas. And then when you go to start your car, you'll be burning nothing but HHO, and I don't think that'd be too good. So make sure you definitely don't use like glass, don't use like a stainless steel thermos or something, and definitely don't put it in the passenger compartment. And definitely don't put it in like in a sealed area like a trunk, because you don't want to fill a trunk full of that gas and have it light off all at once. That would be terrible.